to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, this meeting has been duly advertised in the Esquire Press, issue of September 9, 2011. All municipal clerks of the townships and boroughs within the Regional High School District have been duly notified, and the requirements for posting of notices have been met. Okay, minutes approval from the last meeting. I move. We'll have to put that off. All right, superintendent's report.
Before I get into my report, I'd like to call it the social studies supervisors. One of the things that we've committed to this year are having our academic supervisors on a monthly basis present to the public and to the board some of the good news items about their particular discipline, some of the things that are going on within their departments throughout the schools. And I can't say enough good things about this group of folks here, highly professional. It's a leap of faith to be the first group out here publicly as well. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. I know Heshi may try and get on the guitar later, but we'll stop that part of the portion. But thank you folks for coming out, and I appreciate it, and our district social studies supervisors.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seth. We'll bid you all a very healthy good evening. It's great to see you tonight. The sun always shines on the Freehold Regional High School District, the Central Administration, the Board of Education, the fine people that made it here tonight, of course the students of our district, and my compatriots, the social studies supervisors, that I take great pleasure in introducing to you right now. From Colts Neck, you'll meet Mr. Peter Grace. From Freehold Borough, you'll meet Mr. David Weegley. From Freehold Township, Ms. Judy Newlands. From Manalapan, Ms. Michelle Lilly. From Marlborough, Ms. Shana Howell. And myself, I'm Stan Cobra from Howell High School. We are very excited and quite proud to be here this evening. Our mission tonight is to present a brief glimpse into what we as a collective group of dedicated professionals do daily throughout our district. Members of the Board of Education, please be rest assured, the group that stands before you has a passion for the social studies and a firm belief in the importance that it has in the lives of our students as they prepare for a life and a future that does not yet exist. Now we have a short sample of how we prepare our students for that future.
This is a message from the youth, the generation to which the issues the globe faces today will be bequeathed.
The most pressing issues that the world faces that we feel are most relevant to our generation fall under the categories of
war,
human rights,
environmental deterioration,
and expansion of education.
Issues of war can be resolved with multilateral cooperation as long as lines of communication are kept open.
The UN must be utilized as an open forum for political discussion in order to facilitate the peaceful resolution of conflict.
Pressure must also be applied to maintain environmental standards, because our environment is not expendable, and nations must be responsible for their carbon footprint.
It is the responsibility of leaders of industrialized nations to lend a hand to those in need.
In the process of globalization, people have shared their beliefs and come together, resulting in mixing of cultures.
The world is more interconnected than ever, which means that every individual has a larger stake in the welfare of his fellow human being.
Most importantly, leaders should make education a priority because of its ability to empower and uplift.
We must take steps to fund education in order to promote tolerance and reduce discrimination.
Through education, poverty and violent religious fundamentalism are reduced.
The UN has the ability to achieve many improvements in the condition of humanity and possesses an opportunity that the world cannot afford to squander.
We must bear in mind the lessons of our past.
We are no longer citizens of our respective countries, but citizens of the world.
We are.
We are the.
We are the future. Hear our voices.
Make a change today for a better tomorrow.
Sincerely, the world leaders of tomorrow.
Our students are the future learners, workers, citizens. Social studies has a vital role in the education of our students, both through content and knowledge acquisition and the development of important skills. We have the overwhelmingly large and central goal of creating good citizens. But what do we mean by creating good citizens? Supporting and developing informed, responsible, open-minded, and inquisitive human beings. As teachers, we want our students to become contributing members of their communities and to be knowledgeable about the worlds in which they live. Knowledge of history and the social sciences is necessary for undertaking any inquiry into the political, social, and moral issues of the day. By studying the achievements and failures of the past, students have a more thorough comprehension of the choices our society faces and their likely consequences. Social studies fosters an appreciation for our country's heritage and an understanding of the world, and that knowledge can be a very powerful tool. In order to achieve our goals, our curriculum seeks to have students apply their understanding while developing essential skills, all of which transcend the discipline of social studies. Through the implementation of a wide range of teaching methods, we consistently challenge our students to go beyond the content, to be critical thinkers, reflective learners, information gatherers, and problem solvers, a very important skill for 21st century students. A strong emphasis is placed on exploring current and historical issues through writing, discussion, debate, and formal presentation. We are committed to implementing instruction as a tool to prepare our diverse student body to meet the challenges of an increasingly interdependent world. We hope our students graduate as socially aware, democratic participants who draw on the lessons of social studies throughout their lives as they move through education to the workforce and ultimately take on the responsibilities of citizenship. And I just might add that it was easy for us as social studies supervisors to think about why social studies was so important. But when I posed the question to several students, I received pretty similar answers and what I thought was a very poignant remark. I'll quote here, "Social studies is everything. It's a subject I know I'll take it." Thank you.
Good evening. The state of New Jersey requires 15 credits in social studies for graduation. 10 of these credits must be in United States history and 5 in world studies. This translates to a 3-year required program for our students at the FRHSD. Our core courses, as you'll see on the screen ahead, are in grade 9, students take modern world history and geography, which is a thematic approach to world history from the 15th century to the present, using geography as the springboard to content. In grade 10, students take United States History 1, a survey course that examines United States history in the post-colonial era through the closing of the Western frontier. Major social, political, civic, economic, and geographic trends are the cornerstone of this course. In grade 11, students move on to United States History 2, which is a continuation of the previous survey course. This examines the late 19th and 20th centuries through the lens of civic responsibility in order to understand the evolution of our society. Students come away with an understanding of who we are as a people in the 21st century. Also on the screen, we see our heavily populated and vigorous electives program. On the left, we have our semester courses in anthropology, criminology and law, power, prejudice, intolerance, and sociology. To the right, we have full-year options, economics, global studies, peer leadership, psychology, and 2 honors courses, We the People and Western Civilization. These courses prior to the 2 honors are open to all students.
In addition to the core courses and the social studies elective offerings detailed by Ms. Newens, we also offer a variety of social science advanced placement courses that students may elect to take. Advanced placement courses allow students to challenge themselves by taking college-level courses while enrolled in high school. Typically, these courses are taken in the junior or senior year. The curricula for these courses represent a level of academic rigor that is above that which one would find in a typical high school course. One of the goals of advanced placement teachers is to prepare students to be successful on an advanced placement exam, typically taken in May of each school year. If students are successful on these exams, they may earn college credits.
The Social Studies Advanced Placement, or AP, course offerings in our district are, you see behind me, AP United States History, AP Micro and Macroeconomics, AP Psychology, AP European History, and AP United States Government and Politics. Students that enroll in advanced placement courses may experience a number of benefits. For example, studies have shown the following. Colleges have reported that students that have taken AP courses while in high school will be eligible for more scholarship opportunities. Similarly, 85% of colleges and universities report that enrollment in advanced placement courses has a positive impact on admission decisions. Studies also show that, on average, students that enroll in at least one AP course have higher SAT scores than their peers who do not enroll in an AP course. Likewise, on average, students that take AP courses in high school will take more academically rigorous courses in college. And perhaps most importantly, on average, students that take at least one AP course while in high school have higher four-year college graduation rates than those that do not. I want to be clear that these are national figures for all AP courses, not just the social studies, and certainly not specific to our district. For these reasons, as well as others, we are very proud of our AP offerings, and we encourage students and their parents to consider these benefits when making course selections.
Good evening. Freehold Regional High School District has the size and resources to provide a very unique learning experience for some of its students who want to pursue a more concentrated course of study in a rigorous setting. This experience comes from our learning centers and academies. Learning centers and academies are small, specialized learning communities within our 6 high schools. Over 1,000 students apply every year to one of the learning centers or academies. The programs we offer that appeal to students with an appreciation for the social sciences and humanities are the Contemporary Global Issues Learning Center, the Law and Public Service Learning Center, the Scholar Center for the Humanities, and the Law Enforcement Public Safety Career Academy. The learning centers provide a wonderful opportunity. We are in a position to help create 21st century learners. All of our programs emphasize integration of technology as an extension of our classrooms. All of our learning centers and academy emphasize college readiness. Also, all of our social science-oriented learning centers tap into resources in the community, such as guest speakers and externship opportunities. Individually, our learning centers emphasize a competitive and unique learning environment. They are designed to go beyond the traditional curriculum by incorporating such experiences as a rigorous service learning
Public Service Learning Center, or blending of history, literature,
which also has their annual Senior Legacy Project handed down from each successive senior class at the Scholar Center for the Humanities, or working on the National History Day, as well as creating the Global Issues Symposium at the Contemporary Global Issues Learning Center. The Law Enforcement and Public Safety Academy trains students for the 21st century workforce in areas such as fire safety, law enforcement, first responder training. Workforce readiness, as well as college readiness, is the academic focus of the Law Enforcement and Public Safety Academy. These special social science and humanities programs offer students a unique and rewarding experience that can only come from a district such as ours here at the Freehold Regional High School District.
Before I conclude remarks of our presentation, please indulge me by taking a trip down memory lane. 29 years ago, I walked through the doors of Freehold High School as a freshman, filled with anticipation and apprehension. It was on this day that I met a unique and witty teacher who loved his students and of all things frogs. Big, small, brown, green, animated, ceramic, whatever you can find, frogs. Every day I look forward to this class because he made learning fun, and we never knew really what to expect. The following year, in the room next door, I was fortunate to have a teacher who was energetic and passionate about history and his students. His storytelling prowess kept us engaged, and willing to write endless notes that will actually scroll across an overhead projector throughout the year. We could not help but feel happy while in the presence of this teacher because, as we all knew, the sun always shines in B200. Throughout my high school experience, I was fortunate to encounter many teachers who shared their love of learning. I received my diploma in 1986, went on to earn graduate and postgraduate degrees, and started a career in teaching before finding myself home again as a supervisor of social studies at Manhattan High School. I share my journey with you because I believe it gives me a unique perspective of the Fremont Regional District, as my experiences have led me to two conclusions. The first conclusion is that our district is steeped in traditions rooted by the many dedicated and passionate professionals that stand before our students every day. These teachers spend endless hours preparing relevant lessons for the classroom and supporting our students as they participate in sports, clubs, and activities long after the school day ends. This has never changed. Just look before you. In retirement, my ninth grade teacher maintains his passion for education by serving as the president of the Board of Education. And as a supervisor and teacher, my 10th grade teacher continues to have a positive impact on current and future students. Our supervisory group, along with our administration and the Board of Education, take pride in maintaining this tradition by hiring only the best and brightest of teachers who are committed to the academic and social needs of our students. The second conclusion is that our district has evolved exponentially since I sat in its classrooms all those years ago. Our curricular guides are evaluated on a yearly basis and reflect the changing state and national standards and societal and student needs. Our curricular offerings and special learning center and academy programs are designed to provide intense study specific to student interests. Our educational philosophies have moved away from rote memorization to the defense of enduring understandings that transcend time and place. Our instructional strategies are guided by best practices, research in multiple intelligences, differentiated instruction, cognitive development, and assessment. Technology is used as a resource for bringing the world into the classroom, as a tool to measure student knowledge, and as a vehicle for meeting students in their fluttering worlds. Teachers and students work collaboratively and creatively to explore the world in which they live, a world that requires reflective citizenry, educated in our current social, economic, and political issues, and willing to participate in the democratic process. I would now like to invite you to Mr. Spoda, who will provide you with some entertainment. Thank you.
As I said in the beginning of our presentation, we're very proud to be here. I have a feeling that every member of the board is very proud to be on this board and to represent the community and to be part of this dynamic district. I had the pleasure of listening to Mr. Sampson on 2 occasions. He spoke at our Supervisors Week, and he also spoke when he welcomed the teachers to school. Like every good teacher, not just every good social studies teacher, but like every good teacher, he has the ability to create hooks. And we have these hooks in our brains, and we can put the things that we need to learn on those hooks, and we can go back to the hooks and pick them up and use them. So I took notes, and I have 2 things on my hook in my head from Mr. Sampson. The first thing is, I'm not sure if members of the board are aware of this, is that he likes geese that fly in the green. And if you want to know more about that, please ask him. I'm sure he'll tell you. But the second hook was the phrase that I used when I prepared my introduction. We're preparing students for a future that does not yet exist. That blew my mind. Now, I'm not sure if they were his words or somebody else's, but it doesn't matter. As far as I'm concerned, they came from him. So with that dynamic, I chose a song. Also, Michelle asked me to do the song, and it fits really well. It's a Bob Dylan song. And I'll close with the Bob Dylan song. And I'll apologize to Bob right now for changing the words. And also, for looking like this while performing on the song. There's a story that needs to be told, times at hand. About 6 schools of thought spread across our fair land. Within each dwells a passion to teach all that it can. Boundless knowledge and experimentation. Part of that, Mr. Sampson, we've embraced your command. Present times, they are changing. Dull heads read the past in history. Wise ones read the future, on this we agree. So to all of our students of FRHSD, use those tools we are desperately explaining. Find your place, change the world, do the best that you can, cause the times, they are changing.
All right, folks, we're going to have to go without the microphones. Social Studies Supervisor, that was awesome. Thank you very much. We certainly appreciate you coming out here tonight, putting yourself out on the ledge like that. Stand, creating a song, and coming here is tremendous. Thank you. I certainly appreciate the time that I know that all of you put into this. Full disclosure, I saw these folks working on the presentation a couple different times together. There was a lot of their own time to do it outside of their day-to-day responsibilities. We certainly appreciate it. I know that it was certainly a little nerve-wracking when you're asked to come and present at a board meeting, but I think we embrace it as an opportunity to explain some things that are happening across the district. And I thank you, Social Studies Supervisor, for setting the tone for the school year and for all the work you do on a day-to-day basis. Thank you.
That as a past member of this department, I am thrilled at the presentation, and also, if I may speak in the vernacular of the time I grew up, what a trip it is to see one of my ex-students now being a supervisor of social studies. Bless you. We have another report on this. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, just a number of items to go through this evening, just as a bit of an update, some other important information. We conducted very successful back-to-school nights in our 6 buildings on September 15th. Obviously, with 6 different back-to-school nights occurring simultaneously, my initial goal was to go to 2 a year. I found that wasn't practical. I made it to Marlboro High School's back-to-school night this year. I'll rotate that next year and go to others. The principals reported out the back-to-school night terrifically attended. I think it went very, very well across the board. And something that is obviously an important element for our parents to come in and see exactly what's happening in the school. So thank you folks for putting that together. Tomorrow will mark my final monthly visitation to the 6 buildings. I'll be at Manalapan High School tomorrow. I've conducted a visitation to each of the 5 buildings. That will be the 6th. On a monthly basis, the principals have been kind enough to indulge me in putting together a schedule where I meet with the principal, I sit down and have some discussions with students. The principals round up a number of students for me to just discuss items with the district, ask them questions about how things are impacting them. And then we usually do a walk through the building, and I stop in a number of classrooms. And it's been a terrific way in a 2-hour period in a particular building, talking to kids and watching teachers actually the craft of instruction has been more informative to me than any report that I can read through or data that I can parse through to get a real feel for the day-to-day of the Freehold Regional High School District. And it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to a number of students because they will tell you exactly how they feel about certain things. And I've learned a lot from listening. On September 20th, we conducted our first training session this year for our new administrators. The Human Resources Department, Dr. Kegler, Jen Sharp put that together. It went very, very well. That's something that we were committed to as a district this several sessions throughout the course of the school year so that we're really consistent in terms of how we do the evaluation observation process and things of that nature, understand timelines, deadlines, legal components and aspects of the job. And folks who haven't been in the administrative seat, there's no manual that works so well. You get put in that situation, and graduate school doesn't teach you how to deal with these two folks who are unhappy about this issue or this unfolding issue. You have to kind of navigate that as you go, and we thought that our folks would be much better served navigating that collectively. So that went very, very well. I also met with the district student substance abuse coordinators throughout the district. Went very well. A lot of discussion around the implementation of the new HIV law and how that's playing out in our schools. We've had, over the first course of the month, I think to date, 20-some odd HIV investigations, 2 that have been confirmed HIV cases. So we are following the letter of the law of that legislation. It is certainly well-intentioned, but we are grappling with how we deploy our resources to most effectively meet the requirements of that legislation. And we'll continue to refine the process as we move along this school year. We also had a community relations committee conducted on September 21st. I put that up on the website on my blog if anybody wants to take a look at that. I collected a bunch of data about folks in terms of one aspect of the district folks thought we were really strong on, other aspects of the district that felt needed to be refined. That committee will run as a parallel structure. Ultimately, once the strategic planning steering committee is finalized, it will be in the next couple of weeks as a feedback loop and as folks that might break off based on expertise and or interest into subcommittees. Interesting note, Ms. Gerbig, who's in the audience, was able to attend Washington, D.C. this past weekend, and we were discussing her visit. This was a follow-up to her being named New Jersey Principal of the Year. A trip to Washington, D.C. with other Principals of the Year from various states around the nation. And something very interesting happened. She was given a tour of Congressman Smith's office, and while in there, 3 of the folks who were working with the Congressman are graduates of the Freehold Regional High School District, which I thought speaks volumes to where our students go after they leave us. And then Ms. Gerbig took the opportunity to give Congressman Smith a bunch of Howell t-shirts so that he can promote our school district as well. And he's agreed to come visit our district. But I think that a lot of districts would be hard-pressed to walk into a congressman's office and find 3 of their graduates employed in that office. So when you talk about the social studies folks, the job we're doing along those lines, I think that's a wonderful tie-in to what we were talking about this evening. We're also in the initial stages of an audit of our academy and learning centers. We're taking a look, soup to nuts, on what's working in those programs, what we think we need to be tighten up, what we think we need to improve. We've begun to collect a lot of information about those programs. I will update the board accordingly once we start to move into that. We're also looking, Mr. Bleakley talked about the advantages of enrolling in advanced placement courses. One of our express goals this year is to increase our enrollment across the board and increase access to our honors and advanced placement courses. And we're strategizing on ways to do that. We're doing that at both the building level and a district task force that has to be convened to take a look at that. We're doing a wonderful job with our advanced placements. We're recognized by the College Board last year for where we are with it. We just really think we can continue to push that envelope and grow those numbers even more so. And the research bears out the benefits of sitting in an AP class. And we saw some of that this evening. It's also a wonderful tie into what the supervisors are talking about. We're also utilizing No Child Left Behind grant funds for an iPad initiative that we were going to launch in 6 buildings. We've asked for 3 or 4 teachers in each building. We're working collaboratively with Apple to do this. We are going to utilize the grant money at no cost to the district to equip those folks with iPads. And we are contracting with Will Richardson, who is a noted educational guru, to run 4 consulting sessions with us as a feedback loop to the folks who volunteer to take part in this initiative. The goal collect a bunch of best practices in the school district and to make a determination about what's the best way to leverage these types of tools in the classroom moving forward. So that will be unfolding in the coming weeks. And I'd just like to wrap it up by wishing you all a wonderful Rosh Hashanah. Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you.
So for community events, we mentioned this, I believe, 2 months ago. Reelboro Arts Council came as we were going to hire a muralist and work with a couple of our students. We go down to downtown Reelboro and at the old Exxon station, you can see that they're actually doing a lot of progress and the action are in Reelboro is all set. And it looks great. So I just want to give an update on that. The Monmouth County Library Systems is having a logo contest for students living in our county ages 14 to 22. The design contest, design entries are due by September 30th. On September 30th to October 2nd, the Latino Festival of Monmouth County is going to be returning to Freehold. There's going to be a film festival at the Center Playhouse throughout the weekend and live entertainment on Saturday, October 1st at the Hall of Records parking lot. This is going to coincide with Hispanic Heritage Month, which has already started on November 15th to October 15th. On Sunday, October 9th, the Duke Ellington Legacy Band will be playing an announcement at the library. On Monday, October 11th, the district art students are going to be painting the windows of downtown Freehold. If anyone knows Reelboro and Holly, it's always wonderful. They split up the downtown businesses between the schools. They're going to have a contest and then they're going to have hay rides. On Saturday, October 15th, the Marlboro Blues and Barbecue Festival will be held from 12 to 10 o'clock at night at the municipal complex. That same day, the American Legion, Post 54 in Reelboro, is going to have a free lecture series on military history at 4 p.m. And on October 18th, it's the last day to register to vote. So.
Any other board reports? We just have one. Mr. President, the Personnel Policy Committee will meet for the first time October 13th, Pine Street.
None, we come to the next part of the meeting, which is public participation. Yeah. 6 people. So first up is Mr. Sage. Mr. Sage, I see that there's a line there where it says address. I really don't know what you have.
Sean, thanks for the information I got to receive today. How many are the three committees? I got two.
There are community members.
I only have the policy committee and the finance. Is there a curriculum? There was something attached to this? All right, I'm sorry. The last meeting, I spoke to Jimmy Burns after the meeting. For a good hour and a half, and we were just discussing the situation he was in. I called Snap, and considering his personal situation and the situation at Colsneck with the generator, that's a unique situation other than the other high schools. I think you guys did a very good job. I also spoke to people on the county level that I know that work there. They said on the limited resources that you had, you did a very good job. Sean, you were there too, right? He said you guys all did a good job considering the amount of people out there for Hurricane Irene. I also want to give you guys kudos for making a wise decision at the last board meeting for removing a particular candidate from employment as the information officer. For reasons I'm not going to elaborate, it was a wise decision, and I think you guys, ladies and gentlemen, know about that also. Now for some bad information. I'm here to voice my displeasure with the superintendent's recommendation to appoint Ms. Lorraine Taddy Green as detention proctor, as mentioned in section H2 on page 7. Several months ago, I was in attendance when Mr. Sampson stated we must move forward from the quote-unquote controversy. The controversy referencing the 5 Freehold Regional High School District employees who schemed to defraud taxpayers of money by obtaining Cracker Jack box diploma mill doctorate. Once obtained, they now had bogus doctorate titles and were compensated annually with larger salaries. Disgraceful actions of these employees made this district the laughingstock of the nation, and also the epicenter of statewide academic fraud. Governor Christie had signed a law in May of 2010 prohibiting such disgraceful actions, ensuring that it will never happen again. Since these people were exposed, the State Commission on Higher Education stripped those 5 employees of their undeserved titles. They have since stopped receiving pay raises. However, this board did not make those responsible for this financial debacle to pay back the district retroactively for raises lawfully received with a golden stock degree. I'm still astonished at that decision. Astonishingly, one of the 5 is still sitting as Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum. Another, Ms. Grief, is being recommended today to be a detention proctor at $34.86 an hour. In a December 2nd, 2009 transcript editorial, writer Greg B. wrote, and I quote, "Far from expressing any public shame or remorse about the place where she got her degree, Patty Grief took the all-American route. Instead of keeping a low profile and just waiting for the public outrage to go away, she filed a lawsuit against the Freehold Regional High School District. The assistance of an NJEA attorney and Ms. Grief's warped sense of entitlement of her strict doctorate degree and back pay, she promptly sued her employer, Freehold Regional High School District. Needless to say, Ms. Grief lost this case. The taxpayers in yet another round with this employee was on the hook in excess of $3,000. That was at the administrative law. That was at the administrative law level. I haven't been following it since. I don't know whether she appealed it, which would cost us more. If we're going to truly go forward from the controversy and have peace, the recommendation of Ms. Grief detention proctor should be soundly rejected. Thank you.
Just as a point of correction, Mr. Sage. Mr. Sage, just as a point of correction, Ms. Tidy Griff filed that lawsuit in the form of a petition before the Commissioner of Education. It was then referred, as our case generally, to the Office of Administrative Law. In June of 2010, more than a year ago, oral argument was held on motions for summary judgment, and there has yet to be a decision. It's been more than a year without the administrative law making a decision. So it's inaccurate to say that she lost. There hasn't been a decision yet.
I've got a case.
Next we have Ellen Hochberg.
Ellen Hochberg, Marlborough, New Jersey. Good evening, everyone. Mr. President, please explain to the public what is the difference in how the Community Relations Committee members were chosen and the members of the Policy, Finance, and Curriculum Committee. Only the Community Relations Committee was publicly advertised in the newspaper as well as the FRHSD website. I have opened the names of the community members that are on the Curriculum Committee, and so far I've received no response. Also, does any other committee have alternate members on? In the past, I was. Heshe, please also tell the public how were the members picked for these committees. The public truly values transparency. You now have the opportunity to improve transparency with the public in this matter. Once again, Mr. Adelstein, I will repeat my question that I have asked for the past meetings. I'm interested in an update on the status of the reimbursement from the insurance company regarding Bonnie Sue Rosenwald's prior litigation. Has any money been recovered? And lastly, can anyone give the public an update in the RFP process where we are to replace the current law firm? Thank you.
Sure, I'll do this without benefit of microphone. Ms. Hochberg, I trust you can hear me. I think I reported at the last meeting that steps had been taken to get the judge to accelerate a decision. We heard from the judge actually just 48 hours that a decision, a final decision in this case will be made sometime by the judge, sometime during the first week.
Okay, now it's my turn. To answer your question, first of all, as far as I know, and I'm sure that lawyers will correct me if I'm wrong, we are one of the few districts in the state of New Jersey that have public on any committees. That's number one. So talking about transparency, I think we're pretty transparent when it comes to that. Second of all, I found out that it is my decision as president of the board about which members are on which committees. I am about the final product, which is about education, about truly caring about the final product, not about how much less your taxes are going to be, or about finding out like how many people are in what class or whatever. I'm about the educational process, and so therefore, I was involved in the decision about putting people on the committees. Finance committee has been around for 3 years. 2 with committees, just 2 with committees, with community members. Those members were picked, and that's the committee. As far as the other committees go, the decision, I guess you can blame me for it. I wanted people on there who truly cared about the final product, not that they had a question to answer or to satisfy a problem that come up in the past, but about the final product, what's best for the kids. And so that, therefore, if you want to blame anybody, you can blame me. I'll take the blame. The other thing I wanted to say was, I got an email from you, Helen, about asking me about names on the committees. This was Friday. And I wasn't home until later on. I got the thing that I had to go to work. I said I would get it on Monday. But before I could get the answer to you, I found out from Central Administration that you had already opened that request before I could even get the answers for you. I could have saved you and I could have saved the district money. Instead of opening it, I would have gotten you the answer. But I guess I wasn't quick enough because that morning I found out that you had opened the request. I have nothing to hide. I am not part of the past that you hate so much about this district. I got on this board because of things that have happened in the past. So, you might see me as the enemy. I am not. So that's my... Next up, we have Leon. Leon, I'd like to assume you're Margot too. No. Now.
Before also has an update on the RFP process. We are moving forward with that committee met as the finalists going into a second phase of that process with the intention of being able to do something by October.
Before I begin, sitting here watching the board while Helen was speaking, it was very disrespectful of Mr. Messenger to be smirking behind his hand while she was speaking. And I hope that we were putting these things in the past. You were laughing or smirking?
Excuse me, Mr. Surrounding.
Okay,
we can speak on issues, but not insult.
His behavior was insulting. Here we go again. Falling in place. Every time I think I can come to another board meeting and relax, I liken the situation to when my son was playing Little League Baseball. The game would begin with some other parent umpiring and demonstrating very early on that he was either incapable of knowing the rules or was clearly biased in favor of his son's team. I can't remember when I didn't have to become actively involved in umpiring the rest of the game. I am sure that along with the other usual suspects, I came to believe that when Mr. Sampson became the new superintendent, that perhaps we could finally come to these meetings without the disturbing complications that we weathered through the past 3 years. Unfortunately, history is starting to repeat itself. The It brings to mind a familiar saying, which was sort of borne out during the social studies presentation, that if we ignore the past, we are bound to repeat it. Since Mr. Sampson took charge of this board, we have seen some contentious agenda items fly in the face of the changes claims to want to make, and it brings to mind another useful saying which works for me: don't pay attention to what someone says, but what they do. At that first meeting, we discovered outrageous 20% raises and more for many people in the administration that were on the agenda. Fortunately, cooler heads prevailed, and they were pulled before the meeting began. Then at the next meeting, there were 2% raises awarded to all non-union supervisors. True, not the original 20%, but certainly some of us felt unwarranted during these awful economic times, with so many people out of work or terribly underpaid. Then at the last meeting, there was the attempt to appoint Nancy Ocasio, a longtime cheerleader for the Watson regime, on this board to be the public information officer. Fortunately, that was also pulled at the last meeting. So that leaves us today with another familiar name on the agenda, and that is Lorraine Toddy Graff, to be appointed as a detention proctor. By now, most people should be aware that this is the same Ms. Toddy Graff, who, along with Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Ms. Evangelista, are part of the Briar State alumni who received the bogus doctorate degrees. On top of that, while Ms. Evangelista has yet to say a word about anything, Ms. Toddy Graff decided to sue this district to recover the money she claimed was illegally taken from her because of all the hard work she put in to get her degree. I know it is difficult, if not impossible, to remove these people from the district, but it is not difficult to not reward her with extra pay. I don't know how Ms. Toddy Graff's name was put into the hopper for this position, but somewhere along the line it should have raised a red flag to someone who wants to see positive changes here. I'm afraid that I'm beginning to see a trend of history being repeated. A couple of meetings ago, Mr. Messenger asked about a class reunion on school property. Why don't we have a Briar State alumni reunion and give them all nicely done trophies? Because that's what I'm beginning to see here. Thank you for your attention.
I don't know where you're 25.
I didn't say 25, I said that was the first meeting. That was the first meeting when you were superintendent.
You're entitled to your opinion. If you get up there, it's problematic. Broad stroke. And you come up in the after meetings and tell me something. I'm here to run the school district.
Yeah, I wanted to just clarify something for the public with respect to the appointment of Ms. Toddy Graff. First of all, there is a regular process which the district follows in making appointments to positions generally and particularly to this position of detention proctor, which is not, as you would recognize, a policy-making position, but an hourly stipend position. The process has been the same for years and years and years. Though there are teachers who volunteer for that position, the names of the teachers who volunteer bubble up through the school are recommended to central office and then placed on the agenda. There is no history, none, of folks who volunteer for the position not being appointed to the detention proctor position. But it is certainly true that Ms. Toddy Graff has filed a petition vice commissioner's office took away the extra pay associated with joined in the commissioner's directive that this district was not permitted to use the title any longer, and it does not. But it was her right. She chose to exercise, challenge those decisions legally, and it is not the board's right to retaliate against her for having done so. And in fact, the consequences to any public employer for retaliating against an employee for exercising a protected right can be serious and costly. So this decision by the board to treat this in the normal course of events from a legal perspective is a perfectly appropriate legal stand and legal held.
I wanted to say, since I worked in this system, and I want you to understand this, Leon, a detention proctor is not a plum position. I don't know who in their right mind would want to have this job. I could have had this job, but why would I want to sit in a room with these kids who are obviously not the cream of the crop on that particular day or week, and sit with them for 45 minutes making sure they do their work and be quiet and stuff like that. I mean, it's not like we're offering this lady a plum position. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is this. We have a new administration here, and what bothers me, and since you like sayings, I'm going to give you a saying, that reality and truth is not what is what the people perceive it to be. If you ask a hungry student to read a sentence, and the sentence says silver streak, they usually read it as silver steak, because they're hungry. And what bothers me here is that I think you look at this administration, and you don't see any difference. You want to see the same administration. You want to see the same problems, and they're not. This is not the last administration. This is a new administration. And this is not the board that you once had problems with. This is a different board. And I just hope that somehow, some way, that you maybe have a change in perception. Gloria Close. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Rona. I apologize.
getting different, information. I wish you were more upfront. Tell me exactly, that former members will not be reappointed. Not only Mr. I like working with you, that. I hope with the sake of transparency on the part of the board and the administration, this situation will not be repeated next year or the year after. Now, during the board's report, I hope that the chairperson of finance, Mr. Messenger, will keep us posted, will keep the public informed on what's going on in terms of budget meetings that you have in your own time. I brought up the cafeteria and the detention practice at the last meeting. I was advised by the administration that this is contractual. I requested at the time to revisit this during negotiations, but the superintendent, Mr. Sampson, is appointing the staff for the year 2011-2012, and this is the year of negotiations. So if you succeed to remove that, then you have to let the whole apply again. I wish it was like not bind them yet. Pardon me?
This year?
Well, it is in the agenda that you're approving it for this school year.
They have a contract.
Oh, okay.
They're still under contract.
Okay. And Mr. Heshi, you said the detention proctor is the worst job. Why don't you let the students sit with the security guard? We have security guard in every school.
Not permitted.
Huh?
Not permitted.
Oh, okay. Thank you. On page 7, this is on the agenda item. I just want to ask a question. The activity head bus driver's stipend. Now I'm seeing all the stipend again. Okay, the first one, the 300 to be paid 2 equal payments for the school year. Now the activity bus driver stipend, okay, from 2,085.75 to 5,427. That's again, that stipend will total to almost 95,000. And on top of that, 3 of these drivers were promoted as head bus drivers. They will be receiving additional money like Kane, 2,400, Reed, 2,500, Holland, 2,700. I mean, I know the teachers get stipend and the sports get stipend, and I would request to please evaluate that. I'm also bus drivers now getting stipend, they get longevity, like the custodians, which I brought to you, they're getting longevity pay. And again, I know this is contractual, but I hope that since this is the year of negotiation, you can address that. And I hope you do that. Miss Williams, transportation aid, change of salary, have no problem. But then there's 5,000 longevity pay. Then again, it's contractual for this year. I hope this will address whoever needs to go negotiating in this. How many, on page 14, how many periods does a teacher teach a day? 5, 6, 5. Okay, Miss Krieger, Jamie, Social Studies in Colesnet, she will be teaching 6 periods, I believe. But no amount was given for approval. It only stated 1/5 prorated of the teacher's salary, but please translate it to each dollar. Okay, I would appreciate that. Because, when you say 1/5 of the salary, I don't even know what she pays. But I think it's easier for us to understand it receiving dollars. On the H5, H6, H7, the Department of Curriculum, we're paying a lot of money for this, and the staff getting involved in this curriculum, either writing or whatever they're doing. But I remember the last 2 meetings, board member Mr. Massey expressed dissatisfaction with the way the curriculum was written and how it was submitted to the board, that I hope Ms. Evangelista because she's the head of the curriculum, have something better to do this. The stipend on future farmers of America. Is this for the biotech, like to be a farmer, agriculture? I just read something that's like, what is future farmers of America? Teaching them to be farmers or the biotech? I don't know. No explanation. Also, I brought up in the past the subject of giving more than one stipend per season. I suggested to Dr. Krieger at the time to please try to accommodate more staff to get involved in after-school activities by allowing only one stipend per staff per stipend for the season. That's unbearable for me to think, because there's a stipend is after school activity. So I think you can expand it more to more staff if you allow only one per season. And the only thing you can implement that is if you write a resolution or policy or whatever, however you want to address that. It's very short, Mr. Hashi. You don't have to cut me off tonight. Thank you.
I just have a few things to say. One, I don't remember ever cutting you off, Gloria.
I know, you've been kind.
And number two, I wanted to make sure that I get this straight, and I guess this is my own opinion, but I guess because I'm the president, I can do this. I don't think we're ever going to put a community member on. I don't think that a member of the public has the knowledge to be on a curriculum committee. I would never go into one of your jobs, whatever they were, and tell you how to run your business. I just find it amazing that people find themselves experts on the education system. That blows my mind. As far as, we have one more, I'm sorry. Jim Mitchell? Yes?
Then, one statement, Mr. Mosley.
Whoa. Change my name?
Oh, Mr. Hashi.
Yes.
For next year, all these committees, can you just be, please, kindly, put it on the website. What are the requirements, what you are looking for, so that all these misunderstandings will be avoided.
To answer the question about American National Organization that looks at our education, we do find out and right here. There's actually a greenhouse. It's a great economy. But if you just Google National FFA,
The national.
Mr. Mitchell, this doesn't take away from your time at all.
Thank you very much. So thanks, Jim Mitchell from Colts. My daughter just graduated. My son is going. And a bit of a newbie. But probably about a year ago, I thought the best thing to do was send a anonymous letter to every name I could find, explaining about the cheating rampant in this I came to the meeting at the end of the year and sort of came out. I think the three members vote. Clear. I was fully looked at, knew that it wasn't across all levels. I think it was working clear. So anyway, I got the message back saying you can't do it anonymously. And I understand that, right? So it's great that later on it's clear that it's going on. And I think everyone knows what happened. But if you don't, kids go to class, they write down the answers in order. 1A, 1B, 1C. They collected, they texted the other school, but they the next day. And I hope everyone knows that went on. That's want to make sure. It really hurt the job, right? It really hurt people. And it seemed at the time, in the beginning of the year, pretty simple. Just reorganize the order of the questions. And that would require some effort. And I knew there was more to it, right? You got to understand that. I hadn't heard much about it. I didn't see anything about it. But it's worse than you think it was if you don't think it's really bad. Just hope that the record that you're back. I keep almost all the emails. I'll try. I apologize. I didn't know the names, right? But PTO, the local newspaper in Colfax, and whatever email address I could find is in Colfax.
just in letters. Where?
Last meeting when you were appointed, when you were appointed, last meeting you were introduced, there were 3 people who came up and spoke to the fact that they had to change the way they done. It wasn't like really clear. People spoke about it. Go back to that meeting. It was talked about sort of February, the day that you stood up in pretty cross-eyed town. You were introduced. And you were the just introduced. It was slow. They because midterm finals only, I'm told that after midterm finals, they had to plan and look at it. It wasn't simple. It was simple. But if you think about it, right? Kids are pretty smart. Right? That's pretty simple to same day. They couldn't have all the math classes at the same time. There are other ways to solve the problem. He was right, though. He affects the curve. As a matter of fact, doesn't share this. My daughter's a pretty good student. Like, she got a doctor's thanks and does great work and everything. But she got a 94 in a test because the kids at Full Center discovered, although supposedly early, she had to retake the test. I'm not sure what she got. But in the penalty, if all grades were erased, you have to retake the penalty. I believe it was. But I think just do a little research to see. It's pretty much a valid concern.
So you're not familiar with this?
All right.
What, was it kept in-house?
The team that analyzed the collection of interns, the group, came to that meeting and explained how they do interns. Talking about that. I said, you guys know this, right? It's absolutely no. It's one of the fun to do.
Well, I guess my question is, Donna, was that subject brought up? I know you.
Yeah, there were many not the activities. There were other concerns.
Okay, so let me ask this question. If exams are given, are the questions changed? The order of the questions changed or not? How about this upcoming?
See that? If you could just share that plan, it doesn't have to be today or tomorrow. I know that they reduced. I thought my son told me as a freshman that what they've done to solve it is they reduced the weighting of those tests. My concern was that reduces the effect of the problem.
Right. I promise you not. Okay, answer.
With the midterm, we moved into a group course assessments, which are done over time. Smaller assessments, they add up the same way. There's a large number of needs. Students are sitting for a smaller portion of the bid is not extensive, 2 hours, in the past. And it is not, I believe that it has successful also get good gains. You might have assessment ahead, correct me if I'm wrong. You might have had assessment ahead of someone else, which is obviously course assessment. The intent is to really see the students work in more of a portfolio sense and keeping requirements that we're on. So focus that. I think it has minimized it. Again, I'll just say finally that it's great to minimize it. It's probably more important to take a look back because it doesn't seem like it was. And I thought this everyone knew it, everyone got it. We just want to see about other things. Now, one didn't get it. It's pretty bad. Every kid has this.
I'll make sure we talk about it.
Excellent.
Thank you. I'm going to recommend that we take a look at the entire agenda and vote on the entire agenda. Does anybody have a problem with that? I'll give you time.
On page 12, William Martin, assistant program development, change to
Oh, that was already. Okay, does anybody have a problem with voting on the entire agenda? I just want to say one thing before we start. I would be remiss if I didn't do this since I talked to this lady under H1. We're losing a teacher, Dory Loudon, English, at the Borough, 12 years. We're losing an excellent English teacher for business. That is all I'm allowed to say, according to Dory, for other reasons. I just think it's a shame. I've seen this over the last 40 years. There's some really good people. Nobody complains about their salary. Nobody complains about their value. Okay, so here we go. none, Mr. Boyce.
Mr. Acepola, based on the following information brought forth by Mr. Edelstein, I'm going to vote yes.
Bruno? Yes.
Mrs. Canario?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
This is including the addendum?
Correct.
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mr. Terra?
Yes. But I rather, on page 7, for the proctors, I rather give her the proctorship and then have another lawsuit.
Mr. Mazick?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes, and then on a personal opinion about page 7, if anyone with a doctorate wants to be a proctor of detention, God bless him. That was a yes. Okay, on to old business. The old business. The new business. Seeing none, Jack Straw, Sugar Magnolia will be happy. Motion to close the meeting? Motion. All those in favor? So shall we say, so shall we.